All right, buckle up because we're about to go deep on sneakers, business, and a whole lot of hustle.
Yeah, sounds right up our alley.
We're diving into Phil Knight's memoir, Shoe Dog, and let me tell you,
Oh, yeah.
it's a wild ride.
I bet. Everyone knows Nike, but this book
Right.
takes you way back, like before it was even Nike.
Yeah.
Just this crazy dream in a guy's head.
Exactly. And what's so cool is how Knight describes himself. Like, he wasn't some business prodigy or star athlete, you know?
Yeah, he wasn't some kind of like Harvard hotshot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He says he was just this, like, average guy from Oregon who just really loved running. But he had this idea.
So hold on, this is the guy who built Nike. Just an average Joe with an idea.
Pretty much. He had this, what he calls a crazy idea about importing Japanese running shoes. And get this.
Okay, I'm listening.
He even wrote a paper about it in college, like a business plan, and everyone was totally bored by it.
Oh, man. I bet those professors kicked themselves later, huh?
Right. So after graduation, Knight takes off backpacking around the world.
Ah, the classic post-grad adventure.
But it's more than that. He's low-key on this mission to make his crazy idea happen.
This is where it gets good. So he ends up in Japan.
Yep, right at the source. Onitsuka Tiger
Wow.
walks in, practically a nobody, and somehow, I don't even know how, but he manages to get a distribution deal.
That's crazy. I mean, talk about guts.
Seriously. I mean, this is the start of what will become like a global empire.
From zero to Nike, basically.
And it all starts with Knight just going for it. No connections, no big money, just this insane hustle.
So, like, what were those early days like? I mean, are we talking fancy offices, big marketing budgets?
Oh, heck no. Picture this.
Right.
Knight is selling shoes out of his car trunk. Literally.
Oh, way. Come on.
Even had to borrow money from his dad to keep afloat. And his dad, by the way, was
Yeah.
not convinced this was a good idea.
Totally understandable. I mean, who would think selling shoes from a car, this is going to be huge?
Right. But it's such a classic underdog story, right?
For sure. Makes you root for the guy, especially with all those, like, nitty-gritty details he puts in the book.
Oh, it's full of them. Cash flow problems, suppliers flaking out, cultural differences with Japan.
You know.
Knight probably went through it.
But he clearly had something special, right? Some kind of, like, inner drive to get past all that.
He did. And the book really captures that, how he just kept pushing, thinking outside the box. Like when American banks wouldn't give him a loan,
Yeah.
he just went straight.
Now that's a dynamic duo. The business guy and the shoe guru.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Knight with the business smarts and Bowerman obsessed with pushing the limits of shoe design.
It's like those shoes were an extension of his coaching, right?
Totally. He was always tinkering, experimenting, totally driven by this idea that better shoes could make athletes, unstoppable.
Yeah, like they could unlock their full potential. So is this where the waffle iron story comes in?
Oh, you know it.
Yeah.
Seriously, who else would think to use a waffle iron
Right?
to create a shoe sole?
Genius. Sheer genius.
Yeah.
And it totally captures, like, Bowerman's whole approach, right?
100%. He wasn't afraid to try anything, no matter how crazy it sounded.
And it led to some major innovation. So we've got Knight, we've got Bowerman.
Yes,
Who else joins this dream team?
Okay, so buckle up for this one. Enter Jeff Johnson, this, total running fanatic.
Okay.
Almost like a cult-like devotion to running.
I love it. So how does he fit into the picture?
He brings this raw energy, this passion that becomes their whole marketing strategy.
Yeah. Interesting. So, like, less boardroom, more grassroots.
Exactly. Handwritten letters to customers, crazy events. It was all about building a community of runners.
Smart. Tap into that shared passion.
Right. And it totally aligned with Knight's vision.
So you've got these three very different personalities, all driven by this one goal. It's amazing how it all comes together.
I know, right? But of course, it wasn't all smooth sailing. Things with Onitsuka start to go sour, they get hit with a lawsuit,
Oh, man.
and they face a financial crisis that almost wipes them out.
Oof, that's rough. So what happens next? We've got to know. So picture this. You're Phil Knight, right? Lawsuit hanging over your head, the economy's a mess, and then bam, your main bank just pulls the plug on your credit.
1974, things are looking pretty bleak for Blue Ribbons, like make or break time.
No kidding. Knight scrambling, hitting up every bank he can think of, getting rejected left and right.
You really feel that pressure in the book, like this isn't just business anymore, it's personal.
Totally. And you know what's funny? Earlier on, he was totally against partnering with this Japanese trading company, Nisho Iwai.
He wanted to do it all on his own, right? Independent, control his own destiny.
Exactly. But desperate times, you know?
Right? Sometimes you got to swallow your pride. So what changed his mind?
He realized he needed them. Nisho had the cash and the connections, especially in Asia where Nike was trying to expand.
It was a gamble, but a calculated one.
And it shows his evolution as a leader, right? Knowing when to go it alone and when to seek help.
He's not just stubborn, he's strategic. But even with Nisho on board, he's still, like, hedging his bets a little.
Oh, yeah. How so?
He secretly sets up a shoe factory in New England.
Whoa, behind Nisho's back. That's risky.
Super risky. He wanted to have some control over production, not be totally dependent on Nisho.
I can see that. But what happens when they find out?
Oh, it's a total showdown.
I bet.
Knight has to convince them. He's not trying to screw them over.
Right.
It's just about securing Nike's future.
So did he pull it off?
He manages to smooth things over, but man, it was a close one.
Talk about high-stakes poker.
Right. So all this is going on, and then they're still dealing with that Onitsuka lawsuit.
Oh, yeah. That whole legal battle was intense. It's like, David versus Goliath.
Right.
You're right.
Total underdog story. Knight's spending days on the stand, the company's future hanging by a thread.
I can only imagine the stress. So, do they have any, like, secret weapons?
Actually, yeah. This former Onitsuka executive, Iwano, becomes a key witness.
No way.
He knew all about Onitsuka's shady dealings.
Talk about a plot twist. So he basically spills the beans.
He totally blows their case wide open.
So justice is served.
The judge rules in their favor. It's a huge win, but,
Yeah.
it's not over yet.
Right. They're still facing those financial issues, and the company's growing like crazy.
Exactly. It's like one problem after another. So how do they manage all this while building this brand that everyone's going to know as Nike?
It's a testament to Knight's leadership and the team he built. They just kept innovating, pushing the boundaries of what a shoe could be.
And they started attracting these superstar athletes like Steve Prefontaine.
The legend.
He embodied everything Nike was about.
Yeah.
Rebellious, passionate, pushing the limits.
His story is just tragic, though, dying so young.
It was a huge loss for Nike, for Knight personally. But his legacy lived on,
Yeah, that just do it spirit.
Right. And of course, there's more drama. They get hit with this insane tariff issue, the American selling price. It almost bankrupted them.
Seriously, a tariff. How do you even get out of that?
Knight's legal team went into overdrive. They fought like hell all the way to D.C.
Yeah.
They won. Another close call. But it shows how important it is to have a great team.
People who believe in the mission.
Exactly. So they're battling lawsuits, tariffs, economic turmoil, and somehow they're still thriving.
From selling shoes out of a trunk to becoming this major force in athletics, it's crazy.
And then comes the big decision. Going public.
The IPO, that's a whole other level.
Right. But it wasn't an easy call. A lot of people close to Nike, even Jeff Johnson, were against it. They thought it would change Nike, make it too corporate.
Lose that scrappy underdog spirit.
Exactly. But they needed the capital to keep growing.
It's a classic dilemma. Stay small and true to your roots, or go big and risk losing something along the way.
So what tipped the scales for Knight?
He knew if they wanted to compete globally, they needed more resources. Going public was the only way.
Another gamble.
But this one, it really paid off. The IPO was a huge success.
They landed at $22 a share, and the rest is history. Nike was officially a global powerhouse.
It's insane, right? From a car trunk to Wall Street.
It's the American Dream sneaker edition.
Exactly. But, something tells me this is just the beginning of the story.
So we've got Nike, this public company now, raking in the cash. But I'm guessing this whole Wall Street thing,
Oh, yeah.
it wasn't exactly Knight's scene.
It was a huge adjustment. I mean, this is a guy who built a company on gut instinct,
Yeah.
Passion, breaking the rules.
Right. And suddenly he's got shareholders breathing down his neck. They want profits. They want predictability.
It's the suits versus the sneakers.
Totally. And you can tell it's eating at Night. Like, is he losing control of the company he poured his heart and soul into?
Yeah, there's this real sense of disillusionment, all these board meetings, financial reports. It's a far cry from those early days, just hustling, chasing the dream.
And then right around this time, Nike gets hit with another curveball.
What's that?
The whole sweatshop controversy blows up.
Oh, right. The anti-sweatshop movement was gaining serious traction.
Exactly. And Nike, with its factories overseas, they became a prime target.
It was a PR nightmare.
Yeah, they're getting hammered in the media. Activists are protesting. It's a mess.
So how does Knight handle it?
Well, at first, he's pretty defensive.
Yeah, I can see that. He's probably thinking, we're getting a bad rap here.
Right. But the thing is, the boycotts start to hurt. Like, their bottom line is taking a hit.
Makes you pay attention.
It does. And I think over time, Knight starts to realize they can't just ignore this.
It's not just about profits anymore.
Exactly. So they start making changes, slowly but surely.
Like what? Do they actually improve working conditions, or is it just talk?
They start to engage with labor rights groups, they increase transparency,
Okay.
more factory inspections, things like
The
that.
start.
Right. But it's a long process, lots of bumps along the way.
And is Knight still in charge through all this?
He actually steps down as CEO in 1990.
Wow.
Stays on as chairman, but he's letting others take the lead.
Kind of like passing the torch.
Yeah, exactly. But, looking back at Knight's story, it's so much bigger than just shoes and business.
It's about this guy with a crazy idea, right? Who just refused to quit.
And he built something incredible. But he also made mistakes, faced his demons.
It's that honesty, in the book. He doesn't shy away from the tough stuff.
It makes him human, relatable. It's not just a success story. It's a life story.
And I think that's what makes it so powerful. He's not preaching, he's sharing his journey, warts and all.
Exactly. And it makes you think, what are we chasing? What really matters? Is it the money, the fame, or is it something else?
That passion, that drive to create something meaningful.
And to leave a mark on the world. So I guess the question is, what resonates with you most about Knight's story? What lessons can you take away from it? We'd love to hear your thoughts. But for now, I think it's time to lace up those sneakers, grab a copy of Shoe Dog, and go for a run. Who knows, maybe you'll have your own crazy idea waiting to be unleashed.